everybody. I just wanted to have a quick second to let you guys know how much it means to me that you are my sponsor. SRP Studios, The Real Hernando, The Rhythm Section, Hardwick, Heating, Cooling, and Air Quality, Estes, Grading, Hodge Homes, Adair, Honey Farm, Miss Hippie Eats, Phones R Us, Ross, Sod Farms and Landscaping, Ivy Rain, Women's Clinic, Tonic POS by Tyler Young, and Coffee Central. Thank you guys so much for being a sponsor. If you'd like to be a sponsor, go to my website now, motivatecoachcamp.com, and click on the button. Thank you. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Motivate with Coach Camp. As you can see, I am down here in these amazing studios of SRP with Mr. Derek Michaud. Hey, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Every week, I try to bring something unique and awesome. And this week I have a true local legend in the studio with me. I don't think, if you grew up in this area, if you're a Gen Xer, I'm going to put it at that time right there for sure. Memphis wrestling was on every Saturday morning. We only had like 5 TV shows anyways, so you were very limited and you were going to always watch Memphis wrestling. It was entertainment abound. Dave Brown, Lance Russell, you had all the superstars back in the day. Well, today, we are blessed here at SRP Studios to have one of those local legends that is still out there grinding. So I don't want to waste any time. I want to get straight to his story. We got a lot to talk about. And hey, let's just see where the conversation takes us. This time, I'd like to welcome in Mr. Downtown Bruno Brown, baby.
Hey, Coach Camp, it's wonderful to be here. I'm excited to be here. It's great. Hey, where else can I get paid to drink beer and eat chicken wings and talk and laugh and have fun? It's the American dream.
It is the American dream.
And I've got a good friend of mine who also has a podcast. I plug Local Yokels, Neil Colley, who was kind enough to bring me down here, introduce me to you and to Derek, and so I could have a few beers and because I wouldn't drink and drive, of course.
Yeah, no, Neil's driving you. Yep.
So this is great. Let's rock and roll and strut and stroll, man.
Come to find out, you actually know my uncle Robert, and he's got a limo business. So even if Neil wouldn't have been available, if I would have known, I could have set you up with that too.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I know your Uncle Robert Camp and his wife Terry Camp and Nathan Camp, who's on the Walls Fire Department. Now, what kin is he to you? He's my cousin. Okay. Yeah. Nice young man. And I'm going, it's a small world. Yeah. I mean, we never met before, if the people don't know this, before like 20 minutes ago.
That's right.
And I already knew you as we came down because when my friend Neil mentioned your name, I said, oh, Camp, I know. Boom. DeSoto County is it's a big county, but it's small in the same way, if you know what I mean.
That's true. And Walls, Mississippi is a family-oriented town. It's been small, and it's kind of stayed small. So that's been fun, too. So, look, I know you're not from Walls, and I want to kind of catch a little bit of the backstory. It's kind of one of the things I like to do. So share with my listeners and viewers where it is you grew up, where you were born, and then what brought you this way.
Well, my grandmother and hence my mama were from DeSoto County. Well, grandmama lived here. Mama was born in Lucedale, Mississippi, which is South Mississippi. But I was born in West Virginia. But I don't even remember anything about it, to be honest with you. I've been down here for over 40 years. So I consider myself maybe not born in Walls, but I'm from Walls because I'm not.
You're Walls.
Yeah. So, back, I don't know if you know this, you probably do, but a lot of the people may not know. Years ago, wrestling wasn't the worldwide WWE type thing. It was territories all over the country. And, of course, the New York territory, which was owned by Vincent McMahon Sr., Vincent J. McMahon, was the biggest, most lucrative territory in the country because New York area, I mean, had all those huge cities with million population. New York City, Boston, Massachusetts, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I mean, I can sit here for 10 minutes. Hartford, Connecticut, Providence, Rhode Island, Springfield, Mass, Baltimore, Maryland, Albany, New York, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and that was that territory was known as what now?
WWWF.
WWWF.
Worldwide Wrestling Federation.
That's right.
But, you don't start there. You have to start in a smaller territory. Well, one of the main organizations in the world, the longest surviving territory, was the Memphis territory. Jerry the King Lawler, Superstar Bill Dundee, Tojo Yamamoto, Jackie Fargo, like you said, Lance Russell, Dave Brown, Jimmy Hart, on and on and on. So it's a great place to be and a great place to springboard your career if you're lucky enough to get booked. Because let me tell you, Memphis was major league. It wasn't no minor league.
No.
I mean, WWF, which became WWF. Now it's WWE. That's always been, like I said, the major place to go, even before it became worldwide.
It's like the big leagues.
Yeah, the big leagues, because of all the major cities in the Northeast.
That's right.
So that's the spring. Every other place is a springboard to go there. But I was so happy here in Memphis, I didn't even want to go. But this is the territory I wanted to be in. Jerry King Lawler he gave me my life. When he gave me my break to be featured on the Memphis TV program, it set my life up, and I never looked back. I've been doing this for a living with no breaks, no interruptions since 1979.
1979.
Yes, 46 years.
Walking it back a little bit. So when you moved to DeSoto County area, how old were you at that time?
13, 14.
So brand spanking new, kind of a teenager moving into this area. And part of what I know about your story was you got into wrestling, though. You got your taste of it pretty early. How old were you?
13, 14.
So you were 13, 14.
Well, actually, no. I take it back what I just said. I didn't come to DeSoto County at 13, 14. I got in the wrestling business 13, 14. There was a guy named Dale Mann who had a territory called Mid-Continent Wrestling based out of Jamestown, Kentucky. And they toured Kentucky, Ohio. Then they had a fair barnstorming tour that went all the way to the Dakotas. So that's when I got in the business with him. But after that, I went to the Kansas City territory where I met Rocky Johnson, and he took me to the Hawaii territory. And this is 83, I guess. So now I guess I've been in DeSoto County since 84, I guess.
So when you got into it at 13 or 14, did you know anyone that was in wrestling?
No.
How did you come across such a thing?
It's the damnedest thing.
These are the stories I like to hear right here. Yeah.
It's the damnedest thing. I was, poor, didn't have any money, didn't have any education to speak of. And when I was in school, I didn't pay no attention. Yeah. My whole goal was to smoke cigarettes and sneak out. And I don't smoke anymore. I've got reflux. That's why I'm doing that. I don't smoke. Yeah. But anyway, I went to a fair up there in the Ohio Valley area. And a friend of mine took me over there. He had to work at the fair, putting up the stages or something. I don't know what he was doing, but did I want to go to the fair with him? I said, okay. So I got there, and I was walking around, didn't have no money, so I couldn't buy nothing or play no games or nothing. There was a tent set up, and I peeked in. There was wrestling fixing to be started. There was the ring and everything.
That was your first time you'd ever seen it?
Yeah.
Wow. Oh.
And I walked in, and the guy goes, I'm sorry, you have to have a ticket. I said, well, no, I'm here at the fair. He goes, no, this is separate. Like that. That was like the entertainment thing. Like I guess the fair goes for like a week or whatever. One night there'd be singing in there. One night it would be square dance or whatever. One night it was the wrestling.
So it was by chance completely then?
Yeah, but you had to pay to go in. I said, I ain't got no money. I was getting ready to leave. And a guy says, hey, I'll make you a deal. He was with the wrestling promotion. He goes, if you'll stay, we're short-handed. If you'll stay and help us take down the ring and load it up on the trailer afterwards, I'll let you come in to the matches for free. And I said, okay. I had nothing better else to do.
Sure.
So then my friend that came with me or brought me with him said, come on, I'm through with what I have to do. Let's go. I got to go. I said, no, I don't promise these people. He goes, well, I'm leaving. He goes, if you don't come now, you're going to have to figure out your own way. And I said, well, I made these people a promise. And they said, well, if you want to come to us with us to the next town, you can come on. Then we'll take care of you. I said, okay. So I told my friend, go home. And I went with them. And I said, now it was like Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, up. And they said, we're going to a fair in North Dakota now.
Wait a second, bro. So that day you stay and help them. And somebody gives you a ride home, right? Your mom and dad, you didn't just disappear at that moment.
Yeah, I just disappeared.
You just left.
There was no cell phones back then. And there was no...
Where did your parents think you were?
I don't have a clue. I guess the guy told them I went with the wrestling.
Oh, my gosh. That is
so I finally
so funny.
Called them from my hotel room. Back then, this is funny because this is 46 years ago, don't forget.
Yeah.
Hotels back then had dial phones in the room. They had a lock in the thing where you couldn't dial it unless you left a deposit at the front desk. I mean, there was like literally a lock, like a gun lock, that they have on the, where you can't, kids can't pull the trigger or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, those phones in the room had the lock. Unless you gave a deposit at the front desk, you couldn't dial it out.
Oh my gosh.
So finally one of the guys put the money down or whatever so I could, call. And then I told them where I was at. I said, I'm in the wrestling business now.
I knew that you got into it early, but I had no idea about that part of it. So just so that my listeners catch this clearly, you go to the fair, you're with a friend.
Right.
You come across some wrestling. You say, hey, I want to come in, but I don't have money. They say, hey, look, if you help us break it down, you can stay. Your friend leaves. He says, I'm going. You say, see ya. I'm staying to help. You get done breaking it down. They're like, hey, kid, you want to travel with us? It's not even like you think about today, kidnapping, it would be all over the news. Back in that day, they're just like, come on with us. And you're like, I'm done. And then you call. So how far had you traveled when your parents first find out, hey?
I was in North Dakota.
So you're on the road.
Yeah.
And that's from West Virginia.
Yeah.
That's not a short trip.
No. And there were stops along the way, though. You know, we had all kind of, it was like they had a fair tour. We had matches in all these different county fairs or state fairs, whatever it was, you know. And so when that fair tour was over, Dale Mann and them were going back to Jamestown, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. Well, I had met along the way on one of the fair shows a guy named Jonathan Boyd, who was one of the Kiwi what do they call it? The Royal Kangaroos. Mm-hmm. He was semi-big time. He was like on his way down then, but he was, you know, a guy that was around for a long time. So he hooked me up with a guy in Butler, Pennsylvania, which actually is the same place where Trump
just got shot. Yeah.
But he hooked me up with a guy there to show me the business. Because I wanted, once I started seeing how it was, I said, I want to be a manager.
You fell in love with it.
Yeah, I want to be a manager. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a manager. So I got to tell you this. This is why they sent me to Guido Tatry in Butler, Pennsylvania, Guido Mongol, to show me the business, to really teach it to me. Because what it was, one night, Dale Mann said, all right, we'll let you manage. We'll let you go out there and manage a guy. So I didn't have to know my ass from my elbow. I didn't know anything. I just thought all the manager had to do was yell at the crowd, say, shut up, you rednecks, or whatever.
Just get them stirred up.
Yeah. And they give me like a little sport coat or whatever. Well, anyway, of course, now, years ago, I could have never said this, but now it's wide open that our business is sports entertainment. You know, it's not fake.
Right.
It's predetermined. But anyway, what happened was, I'm at ringside. The referee leans over and goes, okay, when the guy hits the rope, the good guy hits the ropes on your side, trip him. I said, shit, I ain't going to do that. Why does he want me to do that? Does he not like this guy? Or is he, you know what? So the guy hit the ropes on my side. I stepped way back. The guy was expecting me to trip him, which he was green too, obviously, because he took the bump anyway without being tripped. I got in the back. I got yelled at so bad. Then they realized that nobody wised me up to the business.
They just threw you in there.
Yeah. So they sent me to Guido, and he taught me the business. So then Dale Mann and them weren't running full time then, but Jonathan Boyd says, you know, we can send you to Kansas City. That's a good territory back then. A guy named Bob Geigel owned it, which was, he was the president of the NWA at the time, back when there really was an NWA, which was the governing body of the business. So they booked me out there as a manager. Rocky Johnson happened to be on that tour, or working that territory at the time. So I've always been an entertainment manager. I run around the ring. I jump up on the apron. I do all kinds of. Bob Geigel, great guy. God rest his soul. Great guy. He was the owner and promoter of that organization. But he was old school. You look up old school wrestling, there's a picture of him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just wanted me as a manager to sit in a chair at ringside and just a little cocky. If I had to get involved in a spot, get up, trip the guy or whatever, go back and sit down. That wasn't me. I didn't want to be that. And I wouldn't have got to wherever I was at today without, if I just sat in a chair, nobody's anybody can sit in a chair.
It's not interesting, right?
You're right. So Rocky Johnson said, if the people who don't know, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's father, Rocky Johnson was getting ready to go back to Hawaii, where there was a territory there called Polynesian Pacific Championship Wrestling, owned by the Maivias, which Rocky was married to Ata Maivia, who was Dwayne's mother. So he brought me, he says, look, I'm getting ready to take over the book in Hawaii. And our business, take over the book means I'm going to be the booker. I'm the one that is in charge of the talent and who comes and who goes and who does what. He goes, how'd you like to come to Hawaii and be a manager? And this is like 1983 or 82 or whatever. And I'm like, not even 20 years old yet. And he ain't got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out. And I'm getting a flight to Hawaii.
It is. So your head has to be spinning a little bit if you stop and reflect at 20 years of age, how it started and where you were in just a short period of time. Meanwhile, what are your parents saying to you? You got to be calling home at some point, right?
I'd stay. Honestly, I was never very close with my parents.
Okay.
But yeah, I let them know I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then my dad, who God bless him, he's gone now. We weren't very close, but
Okay.
he was like, okay, when you get through this little phase, we'll see you when you get, you know.
Oh, I see, yeah.
So this little phase has still been going on for 46 years.
Yeah. So you'll let him know, huh?
Yeah.
Did you have brothers or sisters?
No.
So, okay. So I was curious about like the family life, like, man, Bruno's crazy. He just hit the road. He just left. So here you are. Now you're going over to Hawaii.
Yeah, and I was there for 9-10 months, and I used to. Now there wasn't matches every single day because Hawaii, it's an island.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't go to all the. Well, it's like a series of 5 or 6 islands, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So we were on Oahu, which is where Honolulu is.
Right.
So we'd have the matches at the NBC Center downtown Honolulu. We'd have the matches at the Air Force Base over there. We'd have the matches at I think it's called Kalani Samoan Settlement, Kaloma, something I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
So we wrestled like 3-4 days a week over there. So the days that I wasn't working at the matches, I worked in the office. I answered the phone and babysitted this little 7-year-old kid named Dwayne Johnson.
So you're his babysitter.
Yeah. And Leah Maivia, Rock's grandmother, who owned the whole company, had a dog with cancer. It had a seeping gas sewer. It stunk. It was unhealthy for humans and inhumane to the animal, not to put it down.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. And then you can watch the show Young Rock. That's featured on there.
It's on there, huh?
Oh, yeah. And I used to have to babysit that dog, too. And it was
Like, this wasn't in my contract.
Yeah, it was just different. So what happened was they had a big event at the Aloha Stadium, which was great. I was managing somebody or whatever, and Lauer came in the night before, so we had the small matches at another location.
About what year was this? Do you remember?
I think 83.
Okay.
And Lauer seen me manage somebody else the night before. And he thought I did a good job. Like I said, my main thing is I wanted to come to the Memphis wrestling. That's big time,
So even then you were thinking about it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Wow. And Lawler went to Rocky Johnson and said, I think that kid's a good manager. Can he manage me tonight against my opponent? And Rocky goes, sure, if you want him to, King. And I managed Lawler that night. He loved it, brought me home, and gave me my break, and he shot me from there.
You never know when that next thing you do is going to catch the right eye. So in that moment, did you recognize what a big deal it was to run into Jerry?
Oh, my God, yes.
Yeah, so it wasn't lost on you.
No, not at all. I mean, for Lawler, who's without a doubt in the discussion with the top wrestlers of all time.
Sure. I mean, look, I pulled my strap down. I don't know how many times I'm a little brother. He'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. So there's no doubt. And here's the guy that's one of the best there ever was, period. Thinks I was good enough to manage him.
Wow.
Brings me to Memphis, pushes me hard on TV. Now, my first day on Memphis TV, we did a thing where the referee got knocked down. I went in the ring, stomped on Tracy Smothers' head, and flipped over Tony Falk to be on top of him to pin him. I jumped over the top rope from the ring to the floor, which I couldn't do that now if you give me $1 million.
Yeah, well, me either.
Yeah, I used to do it every day.
Yeah.
And but this is 40 years ago.
Right.
But I never forget. I always say to myself, I look at it on YouTube sometimes. That match is on there. It's like, if I would have tripped and hit that top rope, jumping out and fell on my ass or whatever, my career would have been done.
Could have been wiped out.
For that one little thing. But I didn't. I hit it A1, thank God.
Yeah.
And I went on from there. So, and then I had an expression. It's like Mama says, it bees that way sometimes.
Yeah, I got that one in here.
Yeah, I made a living saying that.
Yeah.
That paid for my house, Mama says it bees that way sometimes. And people walk up to me, hey, Mama says there's days like this. I said, no, that's not the expression.
That's not right.
Yeah, I hate it when people do that.
Right, yeah.
I got a lot of pet peeves I can tell you about. But.
Yeah. So the first time that I think if I remember, I watched several other podcasts and interviews they had with you, and you talk about the first time that you recognized that people were paying attention to you, that the crowd said that. Can you talk a little bit about that moment?
Well, the first time they turned me babyface, which means good guy, I'll never forget. I was at the Coliseum. I was making a speech or some type on the mic for the crowd. And I said, it's like Mama says, before I could finish. Thousands of people. It bees that way sometimes. I like to cry. It was like, wow, I've hit that.
You did it.
Yeah. I've hit that. I mean,
that gave me goosebumps thinking about it. Because there are those key moments. You didn't expect that, obviously.
Right. Yeah. See, it's funny. When I look at, not just in wrestling, but in life, the top whatever, I don't know how many, but moments in life. What's funny is not any of them involve money. I mean, yeah, thankfully I made good money in my career. I saved it. I invested it properly. Sure. I'm not rich by no means, but I'm comfortable, and I'm happy about that. Don't get me wrong. If anybody's in the business for any reason but making a good living, you're in the wrong business, you know, but when all the highlight things, none of them were like the day that I got this big paycheck. I loved the big paychecks when I got them.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. But the highlights in my life were not that. It was like when everybody said, it's like Mama says it bees that way sometimes. That was huge to me.
Yeah.
When Lawler brought me and gave me my break, that was huge to me.
Right.
When Dwayne Johnson gave me that truck, that was huge to me.
I definitely was going to bring that up at some point. But yes, and so what you said that was 2020.
Yes.
The Rock Johnson come back and gives you a truck. I remembered seeing the story, honestly. It's been a while, so obviously it's been 5 years, and my memory ain't what it used to be either. So I just remember him giving a truck to somebody down in Walls. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense. Me growing up in Walls, it ain't that big of a place, so right. I should have probably connected those dots pretty easy. But this is out in Lakeview, if I remember correctly, that he used to live in a trailer park down there. Whenever he was with you, when he was like a teenager or something.
Well, I tell you what, there was 2 times he lived with me. The first time when he was a teenager. Like I was telling you a while ago, and the listeners about Memphis territory. My home was in Lakeview. I had a little camper trailer, then a small. But Memphis territory, Nashville was the center of the territory. You more or less had to stay there all week. I had a rent by the week hotels, not there no more, but just a junky, rundown place that if you weren't a prostitute or a junkie or a bum, you didn't live there, or a washed up, or not at that point, upcoming wrestler, you didn't live there.
Yeah.
But Alamo Plaza Hotel on Murfreesboro Road at Spence Lane was like $90 a week or something like that. And don't forget, this is 40 years ago. But the reason you stayed in Nashville is the center of the territory. We were in Memphis every Monday, which is 200 miles to Nashville. Louisville every Tuesday, which is roughly 200 miles from Nashville. Give or take. Evansville, Indiana, every Wednesday, which is roughly 200 miles from Nashville. Boom, come back to Nashville. And then spot shows around. So it made sense to have a room at your disposal in Nashville. Because you come all the way back to Walls every night, it'd be ridiculous. You couldn't afford it. So when he first, this is years after Rocky brought me to Hawaii and everything. Rocky came back to wrestle in the Memphis territory. And he says, hey, Bruno, I'm going to be staying with someone else. So my son's going to need a place to stay. You remember my son? I said, yeah. He goes, you mind if he stays with you? I said, no, I don't mind. It'd be great. So Dwayne, Dewey, as his friends call him, lived with me at the Alamo Plaza Hotel in Nashville. And we lived together for months and months and months and months and months. Then I left and went to the Kansas City territory. And Rocky and Dewey moved on somewhere else for a while. Years later, Rocky calls me. This is in 96.
Oh, so it is some time later,
yeah. 96, when I've already been in the business for 17 years at the time, I guess. 79 to 96. Am I doing the math right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Rocky calls me. He goes, hey, Bruno, guess what? I said, what? He goes, my son, I just trained him to wrestle, and I talked to Lauer and him, and they're going to let him start out in the Memphis territory. I said, oh, that's great. He goes, he don't have any money. I said, okay. He goes, can he live with you? I said, you effing right, Rocky. Live with me. I love the guy. And he came, that's when he lived with me in Lakeview. And
that's when he got his wrestling start.
Correct.
So did he jump into Memphis? Was he like straight into Memphis when he started up?
Yeah, that was his first territory.
That was his first territory. Yeah. Wow. So that's the big time.
Yeah.
I mean, I know WWE, they talk about that, but Memphis is the big time for this area.
Oh, yeah. Every part of the country had its own territory at one time. Portland, Oregon was Pacific Northwest. I could go on and on and on. There was South Texas territory, which was San Antonio based. Then you had the North Texas, which was Dallas based. You had the Louisiana territory, Tampa territory, Montgomery territory. I mean, there was.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Vince McMahon, the son of Senior, he's the one that kind of broke the rules, didn't he?
Correct.
He just started bringing everybody. Is like, we're just going to dominate the wrestling. And he's the one that kind of like made it blow up like that.
Right. Which is good for a lot of people and bad for a lot of people. Because the guys that weren't top tier talent all of a sudden didn't have a place to work. You know, because there was no more territories, little by little. And me and Vince were very good friends. Vince was very good to me. Vince McMahon. We were in the car one day, and I told him, I said, you know, Vince, you're a victim of your own success. And he says, and he was always a great guy to talk to because he knew I wasn't going to bullshit with him. Because he's so used to yes man and ass kissers. I wasn't that. And he always had those little reading glasses. He pushed them down. He goes, what do you mean, pal? He didn't say it like a cocky way.
He was
like
curious.
You're curious. I said, Vince, you killed the goose that laid the golden egg. He goes, talk to me. I said, you had all these territories to choose from. Hey, we need a good baby face. There's one in Portland, Oregon. We need a good heel. There's a good one there in Tampa.
Oh, yeah, you could cross-pollinate.
Yeah, we need a good tag team. Well, there's a great team in Memphis now. Well, I said, Vince, now you
screwed the pooch with it, man.
Yeah, no more apple tree to pick the apples from. And he said, you're right, pal. He goes, I didn't know it was going to happen like this. He goes, I didn't know they were going to fall by the wayside, you know. But anyway, Memphis was still thriving then. So Dwayne came to Memphis as Flex Kavana, and I refereed almost every one of his matches. And what's good is I was able to talk to him in the ring as a referee. Because, you know, in this business, I'm going to tell you, it can be a cutthroat, scumbag, putrid business. People don't want to see other people succeed.
Really?
And oh, yeah.
So I was wondering if it was like a brotherhood or if it was cutthroat.
They all say brotherhood. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Excuse my language.
Yeah.
Everybody's out for himself.
Sure.
Everybody. Everybody. And I'm not saying I never had a point in my career I wasn't that way too, because somebody was trying to take my spot or I knew they were trying to take my spot. I did what I could to make that not happen. I ain't going to lie.
Yeah.
But Dwayne and me were very close. Rocky and me were very close. So I made sure that he was okay in the ring.
Yeah.
I'd talk to him in the ring. You know, I'd tell him, you know, keep selling. No, not yet. And you know, we were close. I could tell him, hey, dumbass, what's wrong? Your leg don't hurt no more? It's like a guy would be kicking him in the leg for 10 minutes, and then he's making his comeback. He's running the ropes. I said, well, hey, dumbass, what are you, Superman? Your leg don't hurt no more? You know? So,
I forgot.
You know, that's how because nobody else would do that. They just let him get bitched out by the promoter or the booker or whatever. I wasn't going to allow that to him or anybody else I cared about. I've got some guys, Brooklyn Brawler, Dwayne, Jerry the King Lawler, Rocky Johnson, rest of his soul, Sid Vicious, that I was really close with over the years. The Batten twins, God bless them, they're gone. A lot of them are gone.
Yeah, a lot of them are.
Yeah, but I'm not going to let nobody screw over nobody that I care about.
Yeah, if you were in the circle, then that's what you're saying. Friends looked out for friends.
Right.
But then you knew there was a lot of piranhas in the water.
Oh, you better believe it. I learned how to swim with the snakes 46 years ago, and I'm still swimming.
Well, I think show business, it's fair to say, not that I've been in a lot of it, but some of it, and it is cutthroat. There are a lot of people that just, you know, they're looking to find out who they can step on to get to the next level, obviously. But it is good to have that inner circle. I think that speaks to life, actually, with the Motivate with Coach Cam show. That's what we're always about, is with being family, being community. And then you do need some people in your backyard. You need some folks that are with you, ride or dies.
Right.
And so it sounds like it was really good then with The Rock coming up, to have somebody that's been in the business, been around the corner. Because think about when you first got in, you mentioned how your first gig as a manager, you were just kind of thrown to the wolves.
Right.
You had no idea. And then so that perspective, you know what that's like. You know that it's not easy to get your footing if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
You got to know what you're doing. So somebody was at least good enough to see you had some talent, sent you to get some proper training for managing.
Right.
And you were just paying it forward in a lot of ways. Did you recognize that that's kind of where it came from for you? Was that somebody else had invested in you?
Absolutely.
You want to make sure you invested in someone else?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because I put it like this here. Not to be just vulgar, but I got to say, once you're shit on, you don't want to see somebody else that don't deserve it get shit on, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to see that happen to him. And I'm, you know, like, to this day, now that I'm on the Legends deal with WWE, I don't have to travel full time. I go to a lot of these small events, you know, around the area, or sometimes even far away. And the young guys, hey, watch my match. Tell me what you think about my match, whatever. And I'll tell them. And they always appreciate it. I can say, here's what you did good, but you shouldn't have did this. You did that. The only thing I hate when I tell a young guy something that he should have did differently or whatever, there's two words. Don't ever say it to me. Don't ever say it to any other veteran that's trying to tell you. Veteran of our business. I'm not trying to say I was in the military. I want to make that clear. But don't ever, there's two words we don't want to hear. Yeah, but. If I say, well, when you hit the ropes, you should have did this. Yeah, but. No, not yeah, but. I remember one day a guy said, yeah, but that's what's in my mind. We were in Ripley, Tennessee. A really great guy named Quentin Martin was running the event up there. And before the matches started, the guys were in the ring working out before the audience got there, hitting the ropes, doing it. So one guy was hitting the ropes wrong. He was hitting them straight back. You don't hit it straight back. You hit it sideways, catch it with your elbow and your hip. The reason for that is if the rope breaks or if you slip over the rope, if there's like, oil on the thing from somebody or whatever, if you hit it straight back, you're going to flip straight over and break your neck. You catch it sideways. So if the rope breaks, you slip, you might hurt your hip. You're not going to break your neck.
Sure.
So I explained this to the guy, and he said, "Yeah, but," before he could finish the sentence, Poker Face, Quentin, we called it, his name was Poker Face, came running out and said, "Hey, next time this man tells you something, you just smile and dodge your head."
Yeah.
That "yeah, but" stuck with me after that.
Sure.
Because here's the thing. If I tell you something, I don't mean you, but I'm saying a person.
No, I get what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah. It's okay to question it. Not question that I'm wrong. Ask me why, so you'll learn. Like if the guy would have said, "Okay, but why is that?" I would explain to him just like I did you.
Yeah.
Not yeah, but.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, I get everything you're saying. Coach Camp is not just a title. I'm actually a coach. And I agree with you. And that's one of the things if you're in a position where you know that you have a level of expertise in whatever that is. Clearly, you've been in the biz for a long time. You've seen and done most of everything. Right. And I would believe, this is me saying it from both a player and a coach's perspective, if a person that is seen to be an expert in anything takes the time and they share something with you, you should be able to be retrospective enough as the person that's receiving that information to think, even if I can't understand it or I don't even agree with it, they have to know a little bit about what they're saying because they're veterans. That's one of the things about my players and my students, because I'm a professor at college. You got to be coachable. You can, like you said, you can question the reasoning behind it and I can explain that to you. But if you're trying to step around the advice or the direction, you're obviously not valuing what I bring to the table. Right. And that's what they would do for you whenever they would say, "Yeah, but." Yeah,
so I apply that to everything in life. Like if Derek over here, our technician, tells me, I'm just making this up. If he says, "Bruno, don't hold the microphone with your hand because it'll cause a distortion or whatever." I don't even know if that's the true thing.
It sounds good.
Yeah. But if he says that, I'm not supposed to say, "Yeah, but." I'm supposed to say, well, why is that? And he'll explain, because if you get too close to it or whatever, not "yeah, but."
Know who the expert is whenever they're giving you advice. Clearly, that makes a lot of sense to me. I understand. Being coachable is key to life. That is the key to life. If you can't take advice from other people or learn from other people, then you're probably maxed out. Right. That's what I'm going to tell you. You're probably maxed out. That's where you're going to start from.
Now, my thing nowadays is I've gotten a position in life and in the wrestling business. I can say "yeah, but." If a guy books me in some little event and wants me to do a certain thing, "Well, Bruno, we want you to go out there and do this." I say, "Yeah, but I don't do that."
Well, there's that moment. That's not my thing.
Like I'm going to a place up in Ohio in a few months. There's a fair, believe it or not, a fair show up there. But the guy's got me, Brooklyn Brawler, Mr. Kennedy, a few others as like the old timers, to help, draw the crowd. And the guy says, "Hey, we're doing a thing. Hey, Bruno, do you want to wrestle this midget?" I still got the text on my phone. I said, "No, I don't wrestle anymore."
I don't do that.
I said, I do the signings, the meet and greet before the matches, and I do comedy refereeing now. I can't do the serious stuff no more. I damn sure don't wrestle no more. I'm almost 60 years old. I'm tired. My back hurts. I can't.
I can feel you on all those.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, Coach, here's the thing. I can't, not that I can't, I don't want to be the guy that people say. I remember when he used to be good. And I used to, like I said, jump over the top. I can't do that no more. I don't want to be out there like Bill Dundee, who people, now he's got Alzheimer's or whatever, God bless him. But when he was still, before he had that, he was in there still trying to wrestle at 75 years old. And he was terrible.
You see a lot of athletes do that.
Yeah.
They retire, they come back, they can't let it go. It's their passion.
Yeah.
It's in their heart. I get it. I want to touch on a few things that you've mentioned so far. So one of the things that I found interesting that I want to go back to, and it's amazing I can do this in a podcast because in the real world, my attention span is a lot less than this. But in a podcast, I'm always...
Wow, shiny object.
I know, right? That's me, right? You mentioned how you were thankful that you were able to make a good living from this, but it was those purposeful, meaningful moments that you hit on that really hit home. That's the moment you held on to. That's the cherished moments. I want to tell everybody out there that that's actually a secret to life. If you always chase a paycheck, chances are you're going to miss your purpose. Find something you're passionate about and make that your purpose. And then whenever that happens, you'll see those shining moments in life that you couldn't put a dollar value on. That's the key, is that you couldn't buy that moment whenever you started your saying and the rest of the crowd chants it back at you. There's not a dollar value for that.
Right.
That's a moment you cherish forever. And that's why we should always pursue those things that we're passionate about. And that's why you become great at something, is because you are passionate about it. Nobody has to pay you a certain amount of money to make you want to do it. You want to do it. I know this is going to be a shock to you. I'm not making millions right now in podcasting. I love this. I love this. For the first 2.5 years, I've spent a lot of money out of pocket to make these moments happen, because this is the cherished moments for me, is being able to hear someone else's story and share that with the world. I know how important that is for other people to hear.
Sure.
So the other part of this was, you said, talking about the travel, the 200 miles here, 200 miles. Something people should know is, if I'm not mistaken on this, that's driving.
Oh, yeah,
There's no trains or airplanes and flying here and there. No. That's a lot of road time.
Oh, I got more miles in reverse than most people ever have going forward.
That.
That's a try. And I got more shower time than a lot of these young guys that have ring time. And, the travel. Now, of course, once I got to the WWF level, flying, California, Oregon, New York, whatever. But when we got there, we weren't picked up by limos. We had to rent a car and drive. It'd be a 5 or 10 day tour. I'd fly from Memphis to Miami, let's say, but then we'd have to be in Miami on a Monday, Orlando on a Tuesday, Tampa on a Wednesday, I don't know, Jacksonville on a third, whatever. We drive. So we're still driving.
Yeah,
we just had the added bonus of flying to get there.
Sure. But
my thing was, if it was a tour that began or ended within 500 or 600 miles of Memphis, I drove anyway. I'm a 2 million miler on Delta. I was the highest status you could get.
Wow.
I don't want to fly no more if I can help it. I try to drive. Last time I went to New York, I drove. I left 2 days early.
Wow.
And I made the deal with the people that bring me up there. I said, hey, the plane ticket was going to be $900. You just pay for my gas and hotel driving up there, which saved them probably $500.
Sure.
So
yeah, I'm with you on that. And there's a whole thing about me telling stories on here about, I'm not big on sitting on a taxiway and we're not going down. If the plane is sitting still, Bruno, I'm losing my mind. We got to be moving.
Right, I'm that way too. I used to go nuts. I felt like I was doing time.
God, it's horrible. I feel encapsulated. So then all this driving and stuff, obviously, you got to have a passion for it to get started. You are, in a lot of ways, the American dream, in the sense that you started with something that you had a true interest in with no actual game plan other than you just going to jump in there and get going after it. You were willing to work hard. You were willing to put the time in. You didn't know where it was going to lead to. You were just focused on the next thing and doing it the best way you could. Right. And you kept growing along the way. You had a couple lucky breaks. One of the people that's been on my show, a couple actually, I've had a couple of folks who've been very successful in life, but they talk about, don't be afraid of the work ethic, but then sometimes you do need some lucky breaks. Gary Parrish, which is an ESPN broadcaster, he talked about how he was out there grinding. He thought the height of his career was going to be broadcasting for University of Memphis and doing the Tiger stuff. And then he gets picked up by ESPN. He's in and out of New York all the time. You just never know. But if you have a passion for it, that shouldn't be the thing that's driving you. It should be like you're doing the thing you love. And then hopefully some breaks will come your way. Because if you're doing the thing you love, people are going to notice that.
Well, I agree. And, I got real lucky. A lot of times I'll get sentimental. I'll call Lauer. I say, man, you gave me my life. If it wasn't for you. He always tells me the same thing. He's so humble about it. He goes, Bruno, you were good at what you did. He goes, I gave you the football. You had to run with it. Yeah. And that makes me feel good. So he goes, yeah, you're right. I'm the one that made. No, he's not that way. Rocky Johnson wasn't that way. Dwayne doesn't say, yeah, I bought you a truck. No, I bought him his first car. And that was how he reciprocated, by buying me a brand new 2020
That's
Ford
nice
F-150.
when it can come full circle, man. That's awesome.
And that goes to show you what, their heart is. But yeah, I was very lucky to have those people in my life. But on the other hand, not to pat myself on the back, but I'm saying if I wasn't good at what I did, I wouldn't have got out of the starting gate or whatever. You know what I mean? It was
and I think that you were good at what you did because you had a passion for it. You loved it. It wasn't like you had to go to work. You were doing the thing you loved.
Right.
And I brought all that up because I wanted to point out to my guests, whenever we were talking about you coming on the show and being a guest, we thought maybe Zoom. They were like, hey, look, come on down to the studio. It'd be fun. And then, of course, you had met Derek. But you mentioned you have a short window and you're about to be back at it again in April. So we're in March right now, March the 27th as we're recording. April, you're hitting the road again, right?
Well, I'm hitting the road next week.
Next week, yeah.
Well, this Saturday, I'm going to be in Somerville, Tennessee, a special guest referee for Bluff City Wrestling, which is a great local promotion out of Memphis. April 4th and 5th, I'm in Pulaski, Tennessee, for an appearance at a great memorabilia shop called the Kayfabe Cave, which is a wrestling shop. The week after that, I'm in Dyersburg, Tennessee, for Pro Wrestling Mid-South. The week after that, I'm in Ripley, Tennessee, and back in Dyersburg again the following Friday and Saturday. And then I'm somewhere the week after that. I can't remember where the hell I'm at. And I'm somewhere almost every weekend. Yeah. All the time.
Yeah, you're constantly on the go. And that's why I wanted to bring that up, because the humility you still have and the willingness to still be a part of other things. You didn't have to come down here and do this. Obviously, it meant a lot to me that you did, but that just shows the character of person that you are.
Thank you.
And I do appreciate it.
Well, it means a lot to me that you wanted me to be on it. I mean, I love it. You're a great guy. I knew you were going to be, because our mutual friend Neil Colley that introduced us, he wasn't going to send me to a guy that was trying to ambush me or whatever.
No, absolutely not.
And I knew that. And he said, "Hey, Coach is a great guy." And I'm a very good judge of character. Yeah. You're a great guy, even though you deal with this Derek character.
Yeah, Derek, he's a knucklehead.
No, me and Derek hit it off last time. When I was down,
that's my boy.
I actually told Neil, I said, let's get Derek in on the podcast. He actually did it with me.
I listened to y'all. Y'all kept me awake on my way home from Nashville.
Oh, that's good.
I was driving in the middle of the night, and I was like, let me listen to something, keep me up. And we all know, if you know Neil, he's not short for words. Right. I think it was like 2 hours or something, y'all's episode. So
we were having a blast.
Yeah.
Like when I do these things, I'm like, oh, how long? But I'm having fun. Now, I've done some in the past, either on Zoom or in person, where it was, oh, when is this going to be over? Or they start asking stupid questions or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, so what do you think? What do you think when people say wrestling's fake? I said, well, tell them get in the effing ring, and I'll show them how fake it is. There's stuff like that. But I don't want to hear stuff like that.
Sure. No, but I do want to ask you about a couple wrestlers, if I may. This is that
ask me everybody you want to.
I had a few things here on my list. So there was one in particular. Jerry Lawler was, of course, a big part of my childhood. The strap is the real deal. My brother was 6 years younger. I was pulling that strap down all the time, whooping his tail, dad getting on to me. That happened. That's a real story.
Oh, I believe it.
I was curious. Jackie Fargo, did you know him?
Yeah, he was already pretty much basically semi-retired by the time I started.
Yeah, he was a little before your days.
Yeah, but I didn't. Excuse me. I worked with him on several occasions, and I've met him numerous times. I knew him, not well, but he was a great guy, and he drew a lot of money in the business and in the Memphis territory in particular.
Absolutely, you did.
Yeah, I knew him. Like I said, I didn't know him well, but I did know him.
Could you do the Fargo strut?
Not really. Nobody did. You know what? Fargo did it great. You know who else did it really well was Bill Dundee. I'll give him that.
No, the Dutch man, yeah.
No,
not the Dutch. No, Bill Dundee. Superstar, yeah. Right. So then the other one is, I remember hearing a story, and I'd like for you to share it with us, about the time you actually got knocked out cold in the ring.
Oh, the Giant Gonzalez. He was a great guy. Yeah. I loved him. He had about as much business as a wrestler as I've got flying an airplane. he was. You ever hear the old saying, all hat, no horse? He was strictly because of his size. Yeah. And a great guy. I loved him as a person. And he's gone now. Yeah. God bless him. But we got along fantastic. And if you don't believe me, Google Undertaker talks about working with Giant Gonzalez. He was just 2 left feet, knock-kneed, and pigeon-toed in the ring.
Sounds like my St. Bernard.
Yeah. Just couldn't.
Big and no coordination.
Exactly. Yeah. And for months and months and months, he would hit Undertaker right in the back of the neck. Okay. And Undertaker explained to him, no, hit me in between my shoulder blades. Okay. He'd stay back. That's how, he wasn't a mean guy. He wasn't doing it to be a jerk. He just couldn't work. So we were in Auburn Hills, Michigan, and Vince wanted Gonzalez to get mad at me for something. I was his manager. He wanted to get mad at me. He picked me up and chokeslammed me. Well, I've took the chokeslam from Undertaker on many occasions. Yeah. He'd pick me up. He'd braced me behind the neck and put me down. It looked like he was killing me. I didn't feel it. I knew how to tuck my chin, the whole bit. Yeah. Gonzalez, legitimately, with boots on, was 8 feet tall. That's not bullshit.
He's a big dude. No, he's a big dude.
Yeah. And now, I don't know. I can't do the math, but his arm, he's got me by the throat, lifts me up over his head. So he's already 8 foot tall. I'm above. So that's like
you're 10 foot at least.
10 foot, 12 foot, or whatever in the air. He just throws me down. I I didn't have time to protect. He didn't protect me, and he was my friend. So it wasn't like he was just didn't know how to work. I hit that damn. Hit my back of my head on that mat. I was knocked out. Never been knocked out before. I've been hurt. I've been zinged before, but never like this. This is a pay-per-view.
Oh.
Okay. And I'm laying there. I finally came to. You remember in the old days when people take our pictures with the flash bulbs?
Yeah.
So I've been seeing that. I can't focus my eyes. I'm hearing phones ringing. Like they used to say, I guess that's where they got it on those old
cartoons and stuff.
Whatever.
The birds flying around. Yeah.
But I mean, I literally was hearing the phone, the phone, the old.
Mm-hmm.
So evidently some of those cartoon writers might have been knocked out at once. And they knew so anyway, is it okay if I use one cuss word on this? Or
At least two.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, what it is, Rene Goulet was one of the agents at the time. He's dead now. God bless him. Good guy. But it's a pay-per-view. And, it's time now. So I'm laying in the ring, hurt. I can't focus. I says, Rene goes, get out of the ring. Get out of the ring. I says, Rene, I'm hurt. I'm knocked out. He goes, be knocked out in the fucking back. It's a pay-per-view. I couldn't see there. Bottom line is, nowadays, WWE is so concussion conscious, whatever. Back then, that was the concussion thing. Get the fuck out of the ring.
Yeah, you're good. Put some dirt on
it. Somebody get some leaves. You know. So that was scary. I went in the shower. I sat in the shower for like an hour, and I said, George, Gonzalez's real name was George. I says, George, you like to kill me. And then, so the next day we was in Saginaw. The agent for that night was Chief Jay Strongbow. He goes, Caesar, who was Vince, Caesar wants you to take the choke slam again on TV. I said, Chief,
not happening.
I can't do it. He goes, well, that's what Caesar wants. I said, well, I'm going to go talk to Caesar. He goes, I wouldn't do that if I was you. I said, Chief, I'm not going to die for the business.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in and talked to Vince. Vince was he goes, oh, you're not comfortable with it, I see. We want you to take some type of bump. What do you suggest? I said, how about if he just gives me a hard turnbuckle, I'll bounce out, which I was very good at.
Mm-hmm.
Vince said, sounds good to me, pal. I went back to Strongbow and told him, he goes, I said, you went behind my back. I said, no, I went over your head.
That's good. So obviously Gonzalez, he was apologetic, I guess.
Oh,
like,
very
I
apologetic.
didn't mean to hurt you and stuff. I would imagine. So, yeah.
Right.
So does that kind of thing, though, does that happen more often than people realize? Is, it's a situation where they're doing a move or a technique and it goes wrong and they're actually really hurt. Does that happen a lot?
Oh, it does happen quite a bit.
Yeah.
Accidentally.
Sure.
Now, or sometimes you get a guy that's a real piece of shit that is a bully in the ring.
And they're trying to hurt
you. Or
a
spot picker. Like Vader was I'm sorry, everybody. He's dead. Vader was a piece of shit
you didn't like
in the ring and as a human being.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a good guy besides that. No, he was a bully in the ring and a liar and a sorry son of a bitch outside of the ring. Okay.
So he was a heel in real life.
Oh, in real life. And he's the type of guy that would stiff you or whatever in the ring until somebody fired back on him. See, that's the best way. If you fire back, all of a sudden they become, Vader was a terrible person. Yeah. Terrible. Awful person. Hope he found the Lord before he died and repented because he was a terrible, awful person.
I wonder how you feel about him, Bruno. I'm just kidding. Kidding. Yeah, I know. I get it though, but there are those people in life. There are those people that they're dirty to the core.
Right.
But you know what? It's good to know that about them. Because you know what to expect from them.
Well, yeah, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. And everybody can change.
Sure.
I've did some crappy things in my early days of my career.
Yeah.
I had one guy hurt real bad one time, and I look back, I was justified in what I did, but maybe I didn't handle it the right way. I don't know. I heard a guy beat up a guy really bad years ago. But I'll tell you a funny story, though.
Yeah.
This is years ago. This is back in like 85, maybe. They had me wrestle a girl named Emily Arthur. Okay. She was not a wrestler, but Jerry Bryan, who's a great guy, he's dead now, God bless him.
Was this in Memphis?
In Memphis.
Memphis, okay.
Jerry Bryan, showed her the basics. What we did was, excuse me, they planted her in the audience. Then I stood out there and I said, there's nobody, I can't, I'll beat up anybody, that blah, blah, blah. And Jerry Bryan came out and goes, why don't we just pick somebody out of the audience and see if you can, and they went through and there was guys and girl, whatever. So she was a pretty girl. She's dead now too. God, everybody's dead. But
you're still doing it, man.
Yeah. But they got her out of the audience, which, it was, stage.
Yeah.
And So they had me wrestle her. So the deal was, we're going to have the match. We were in Jonesboro, Arkansas. We had the match like 30 times. This is like initially, we were going to have the match. The deal was she was going to be on top of me to cover me. 1, 2, I'm going to kick out and do something evil to beat her. She had her knees. She didn't know how to work. Jerry Bryan taught her the basics, but she wasn't seasoned by any means.
Yeah.
Her knees right at my shoulder blades. Not my shoulder blade, but what do you call it? Shoulder sockets, I guess.
Yeah. Front of your shoulder.
1, 2, I couldn't kick out.
Oh,
3. Dang. And the thing is with a referee, whether we know the finish or not, if somebody don't kick out, you count 3. The worst thing you can do is stutter count because it looks like you know that ain't supposed to happen, right? So she beat me. She wasn't supposed to beat me.
Yeah.
So everybody was ragging me and riding me about it. Oh my God. So the next night we were in Nashville and everybody pumped my head. I mean, don't forget I'm only like 20 years old or 19 or something.
Yeah.
Everybody's pumping on my head. You get out there tonight, you hook her and you beat her just as quick as you can. You just show her who's boss, blah, blah, blah. And they got my head all gassed up.
Yeah.
So we're in the ring, Jerry Calhoun's the referee, and I'm trying to hook her. I'm doing all this, I'm doing all that. And Calhoun says, Bruno, I thought you were just going to grab her and beat her. I said, shit, Calhoun, I can't.
She's too good.
Yeah, I was real skinny back then.
Yeah.
I'm a fat guy now, drinks too much beer and eats too many chicken wings. I was only like 130 pounds then. I'm 179 now. Yeah. But I couldn't beat her.
Yeah.
So finally we had to have a meeting with Eddie Marlin and Lawler and Jerry Bryant and me. Explain to her, look, you got to work. You can't, whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, I literally couldn't beat her.
So that is a good transition. Nice segue on that, by the way. So at some point in time, you were asked to go into the WWF, the Women's Championship, this is the part that blew my mind, to actually wrestle Jerry Lawler's wife, and you were, the name was
Hervina.
Her name was
She was the cat. I was Hervina.
You were Hervina. She was cat. Okay, I got that backwards. Right. So tell me, how does that moment come about? Was that after the wrestling matches with the woman out of the crowd?
Oh, wait. I'm talking about 20 years
20 years later. Okay, yeah.
Oh, my God. Here's how it come about.
Okay.
I told one of the writers at the WWE, I think it was WWF at the time, but whatever. Mm-hmm. I says, and I used to wrestle, these different girls in Memphis, and we'll have the match and blah, blah, blah. Okay. If we'd have just had a regular match in the ring, which I wrestled Stacy, the cat's real name was Stacy, wrestled her many times in the Memphis territory. And we had decent matches. I'm not saying it was Undertaker against Triple H quality, but, good for what it was.
Sure. Entertainment.
So the writers decided, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll have you in a kiddie pool full of snow, and you're going to dress like a woman. I was like, oh, my God, this went from we're going to have a little entertaining match to a debacle, which is what it was. Even Vince told me, he goes, that might have been the worst match I ever saw in my life, pal. And I said, I'm sorry, but he goes, no. He goes, it's not your fault. He goes, it's the way it was booked. But it was a horrible match. But I was the world champion for one day.
For one day, yeah.
But here's the deal. They wanted to put the championship on Jacqueline, who was Miss Texas, if you remember her, the really good, athletic black girl, very athletic, very stout and strong. They knew if she wrestled Stacy in a regular match, without even meaning to, she was just snug. Stiff means you hurt somebody in the ring. Snug means you're just, tight. She would have hurt Stacy, not meaning to, but I was the segue to get the belt off of Stacy so Jacqueline, Miss Texas, could beat me. That's all it was.
So it was I got you. So I didn't realize that part of it then. So was Jerry Lawler married to her at the time?
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
Wow. I don't know how that part slipped past me over all these years. I never knew his wife was in wrestling.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So then that was, let me see here. That was Sid Vicious, if I'm not mistaken, that got you into WWF. Is that right? Or did I get that wrong?
No. Sid helped.
Sid helped.
Yeah.
And you went in as like manager Harvey Wimpleman.
Yeah.
What's the name change? How does that happen?
They have to, at least at the time, nobody was under their real name. Almost nobody. Bruno's my real name. They couldn't copyright it because it's my real name.
I got you.
So they came up with, at that time, it was when the Pee Wee Herman thing was hot, when he just got in trouble with the adult theater and all that bullshit,
Yeah.
So my first day there, they called me Henry Herman. And then Vince, this was not on TV, this was in the dark, they called it, which means not televised, just in front of the audience. Vince said, no, because when the Pee Wee Herman thing dissipates, then we got a one-trick pony. He goes, we'll call him something else. So Gorilla Monsoon said, oh, well, let's call him Harvey Herman. And then Howard Finkel goes, no, why don't we call him Harvey Whipple? Okay. So we get out to the ring, and Gene Okerlund said, and we got now with us Harvey Whippleman.
They kept evolving.
Yeah. So I became Harvey Whippleman. I didn't give a damn as that check said Bruno Lauer.
Yeah, so, right.
And I had my tryout in Worcester, Massachusetts, and Vince said, get out there and show me something I ain't never seen before. He goes, I look at you, and I see a little guy that's got a good reputation. He goes, you got a Southern accent. He goes, you got a deep voice that if I didn't know you and I heard you on the phone, I think you were 300 pounds. He goes, use all this to your advantage. He goes, show me something I've never seen before. So we get out there. Me and Okerlund are going back and forth. And he said something, and I just reached back and slapped the shit out of him. And he looked at me, I looked at him, and I said, okay. Vince,
I showed you something.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to pull my pants down. I had to do something. You know? So I got in the back. Vince says, I didn't like the slap. I said, oh, here we go. That's it. I just blew my tryout. And Vince goes, come here. I've only known him for like 20 minutes at this time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Vince says, I didn't like the slap. You didn't hit him hard enough. He goes, I'm going to yell at you in front of Okerlund. And he says, let him know that I'm really pissed off that you slapped him. He goes, I want you to do the same thing tomorrow night in Portland, Maine. So I'm giving a spoiler now. The next night in Portland, Maine, I called Okerlund to the side, and I wised him up to it. Vince would have been so mad, but I said, Vince wants me to do it again. That's the kind of guy Vince was.
Yeah.
Great guy. I don't give a shit what anybody says about Vince. I love him.
Yeah.
How about this?
He wanted the authentic reaction, though. That's the thing. He wanted you to hit him harder and then get that thing. But yeah. So how about this? Let me tell you another Vince story. And we're talking about some of the greatest things in life. I actually wrestled in Madison Square Garden. Okay. I managed, I refereed, I announced, and I wrestled. I've done all four that you can do in the business in Madison Square Garden. One night, I have the match on the Garden, the same night of World Championship matches, whatever. I'm wrestling Howard Finkel in Madison Square Garden. Howard was the ring announcer, but they did a thing where I was always mean to him, and we finally got into it. So we started having matches all around the loop. Having a match at Madison Square Garden. That's big.
So Vince has us together in the room, telling him what to do. And he says, okay, Howard, you're going to beat Bruno, and here's how you're going to do it, blah, blah, blah. Sends Howard to the ring. I'm waiting for my entrance. Vince goes, I changed my mind. You're going to beat Howard. He goes, but don't tell Howard. Just like the thing with the girl. The only difference was I could beat Howard.
And you did.
Yes. But Vince told me don't tell him. Now, I didn't want to hurt Howard.
Yeah.
So every time I tried to pin him, he would do everything he could. Finally, I said, Howard, I'm going to kick you in the head. Stay down. So I kicked, not hard, but you know what I mean? Just made it look good. I was good at that. I just said, stay down. I'll explain later. So he did, and I pinned him, and that was it. But, I mean, Vince wanted to see if I could beat
that. That is interesting because I've watched those things intently at times, and the match going on, and I never really see them talking to each other. So you guys are really good then at communicating on the down low, clearly. Because it sounds like that kind of stuff kind of happens somewhat regular.
Oh, yeah, but the referee's got a lot to do with that. Okay.
That's interesting.
I'm in the ring, wrestling you. You're across the ring. I want you to come, go to hit me. I'm going to block it, and I'm going to hit you. Okay. I'll tell the referee, you tell that daggum Coach Camp, quit pulling my hair. And I'll tell you what, go tell him, go to hit me. I'm going to block it, and I'm going to clock him. You got it? I'll tell him not to pull hair. And let me tell you, don't you build that? And he'll tell you what you know what I mean?
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. So the audience thinks he's telling you, don't pull my hair.
Yeah.
But he's really giving you the high spot.
Interesting. They're good at it. I've never picked up on that stuff. You know, when I was looking through some of the notes here, I noticed too that it was not just the Memphis wrestling scene, but you were kind of, where were you in lineup with Jimmy Hart? Because Memphis wrestling, when you think about the mouth of the South.
Yeah, he's my good friend.
That rings through your head. I mean, it's there. It's immediate. So that's what I was wondering did y'all ever interact with each other like in Memphis?
Not in Memphis because when how I got my break in Memphis with Lawler, we talked about it a while ago.
Yeah.
is when Jimmy left to go to WWF.
Okay.
So I took over that position, basically.
Gotcha.
So I became the next guy in that succession. And thankfully, there was a lot of guys that tried, you know, that didn't make it.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough that I was good enough, lucky enough, had enough good support and good teachers that I made it.
That makes sense. I was curious about that. I kind of looked over. I was like, I never saw where you two were going at each other.
No, he was always, he was gone.
Yeah.
That's what got me in. He took my, I took his
succession plan.
Yeah.
You were the next one. Next one up.
Yeah, I was next one.
So let me ask you this. We're getting close to the finish line here, but I want to ask a couple more things here. So where do you see wrestling today versus 20 years ago or 30 years ago? Where is it at today, and where do you think it's going?
You know what? Gordon Soley, who's one of the greatest wrestling announcers of all time, told me something years and years ago I never forgot. There's only one constant in the wrestling business, and that's change. So I have no idea where it's going. I hope it goes a little bit backwards, back to where we used to have it. When I watch it nowadays, these young guys, I'll run across the ring, then you run across, and I'll jump over you, then you jump over me, and then we'll both jump up in the air, and then we'll both flip over the top rope, and there'll be a guy standing there waiting to catch us. I mean, I can't keep up with it. Back in our day, we could get 10 minutes out of walking and talking. And then, you know, we could have people ready to crawl in the ring and start a riot because I choked a guy or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm sure back in the Wild West days, the guys with the stagecoaches were saying, those doggone trains.
Yeah.
Well, so same thing. I'm that guy.
Old school style.
Yeah. But I mean, it's evolved. I think maybe it went a little bit too far because really when you think about it, the guys that drew the top money and the big money in our business are not the guys that I'll jump over you, then you jump over me, and I'll jump over the ropes. Dwayne Johnson, Triple H, The Undertaker, Hulk Hogan, all these guys that are the Stone Cold Steve Austin. None of these guys do that. I'll jump, you jump, I jump, you jump. The closest to that was Shawn Michaels, but he does it for a reason. He doesn't just do it gratuitously. When Shawn jumps, there's a reason for it or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think it's too much choreography now.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And I mean, something had to evolve. Nobody wants to see a big fat guy with a guy in a headlock for 20 minutes. But if you're a guy that can work, like Dusty Rhodes against Harley Race, these guys weren't doing I'll jump over you, you jump over me, blah blah. But they could work a headlock, but make it work. You know, watch some of Lawler's matches with Nick Bockwinkel. They're like Wrestling 101. It's like that's what you watch to learn how to work.
Right.
They could work an arm for 20 minutes and people were glued to it.
Yeah.
Because they knew what to do. It wasn't just boring. It's like Lalo's trying to get out of it, then Bockwinkel take him back by the hair. You know, I wish we could go back to a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
But if the people want to see Bing Bang Boom, who might argue?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not the one paying a ticket.
You never know. You never know what's going to catch next and what that next trend or phase is going to be. It doesn't matter if it's rap music to wrestling or, baseball. It's constantly changing. Who would ever thought baseball, America's sport, would change 50,000 different rules in the last 10 years? But things do evolve all the time.
Right.
I look back, though, and the reason I asked that question, because you're obviously more in tune with what's happening right now out there. And I just remember growing up having all the action figures. You had the Hulk and Randy Macho Man. And they were all personalities, man. They were you didn't think about their moves as much as you thought about their character. Their character's what stuck with you.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what you mimicked. It wasn't like I was you mimic some moves. I don't want to say none. I mimicked the strap. Obviously, I talked about that.
Right.
But you mimic their style. Do you smell what the Rock is? I mean, that's what the kids, they really bought into that.
Right.
I don't know what that trend is right now. There are so many varieties. I was flipping through the channels the other day. I saw something that was like, I'm going to mess up the initials. It was like NWT or something. I don't know.
NXT.
It was NXT.
WWE owns that. That's the developmental league for WWE, yes.
Okay, so it's like a single A, double A, bringing them up. Yeah.
Basically, yeah.
So there's so many branches of it now.
And that proves my point from earlier. Vince, or not Vince anymore that he retired, but the WWE had to start their own developmental. Before, all the territories were developmental without him having to pay because they were, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so that proves my point when I told Mr. McMahon 30 years ago or whatever, many years ago,
Yeah, but no doubt about it.
But and there's so many guys that if these young guys would just watch videos, tapes on their device, whatever, that just learn how to work.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do bing, bang, boom. You can draw a lot of money. I mean, there was a guy like Superfly Jimmy Snuka, if you remember him.
Oh, Jimmy Snuka.
I loved him.
Yeah.
I know he had his issues in life.
Yeah.
He was nothing but great to me. I loved Jimmy Snuka. That guy drew money. The Magnificent Morocco, he drew a ton of money. Sergeant Slaughter, the Iron Sheik, Dusty Rhodes, Nick Bockwinkel. I mean, Harley Race, Jack Briscoe, Ric Flair. Yes, these guys drew money.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry King Lawler sold out the Coliseum more times than Elvis.
I can see that.
It's a fact.
I can see that. Yeah, Jerry Lawler, man, he was iconic as they got when it comes to Memphis. If you were looking at some kind of a Memphian that you would put a staple to, Elvis Presley, Jerry Lawler, there was a handful that people would go to immediately.
Oh,
That was the tip of their tongue.
Oh, yeah.
No
Let me tell you, Lawler was that guy in Memphis, no doubt. Let me tell you this. The one guy that I hate it when people talk bad about because I love him. The guy that was like Elvis and the Beatles put together, Hulk Hogan.
Oh,
he drew more money for a longer period of time than anybody in the history of the business. Nobody's in second place. And Dwayne The Rock, my dearest friend, will tell you this. He will tell you that Hogan is the man, and he is. And I can tell you personally, when I'm standing in the ring with whoever I'm representing, and that Hogan music hit, I've never been a drug abuser or user in my life, but that was like a high, okay? When Hogan's music hit, that entire auditorium, I can't even explain the feeling. It's like, I don't know what heroin feels like.
Yeah.
And I never will. But I mean, I wonder if that was it, because it was like
electricity.
Yes, it was unreal. When Hogan came out.
I saw a documentary when he broke some rules and built his own style. You know, like he came out ripping his shirt, and he was in the movie with Rocky, and he was like told, you don't need to be in this movie. And he's like, I'm going to be in the movie.
Right.
You know, it's like those guys that are cutting edge, that can see something, a product that's going to be better than what somebody else can see, and then they make that happen. That's a special person.
Oh, yeah.
That's
and
a
he
special,
did.
unique
Well,
talent.
what it was, Vern Gagne ran the Minneapolis territory. Wouldn't put the world championship on Hogan. He's the one that told him, don't go make the movie. Vince McMahon said, make the movie and come to work for us. Hogan left AWA, Minneapolis, and went to WWF and went from there.
Yeah.
That's where it all started. When he beat the Iron Sheik in Madison Square Garden and won the WWF Championship, that started Hulkamania, that started WrestleMania, that started everything.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't that in the 90s when there was the Middle East conflicts and stuff? So then the Iron Sheik was like, the America, and it was you could see like with Rocky, for instance, you had the Russian and the American.
No, that was 83. When Hogan won that championship, that was 83.
So that was 83. Okay, I'm thinking of something else.
But no, what happened was later, in the 90s, Sergeant Slaughter, the great American hero,
that's what I was thinking
turned
of.
against the United States and joined with the Iron Sheik.
That's what it was, yeah.
Yes.
I knew there was some kind of conflict there during the time whenever it was contentious.
Oh, yeah. Slaughter had death threats. Oh, yeah.
That's what it was.
He had more heat than that gum hot stove, man.
You know, it's so funny. I love having an expert in the house when I talk something. I'm a baseball fanatic. Love baseball. And I was talking, I had a Major League ump on the beginning of this year. He umped the World Series that just happened. And I thought I knew my baseball stuff. I'd say something, he'd be like, no, you got that wrong. It's this. I'm like, oh, you're right. I love having the experts in the house, man.
Good.
That's good. So last thing here I want to touch on, wrestling moving forward. I think that, you know, it is a unique market. It's like anything else. It doesn't matter what that thing is. If you love something, you love it. That's the way it is, but it's going to grow in different ways. And talking about it and having shows about it, I think is important. And so I just wanted to mention, if you're not familiar, and I want to say this on the show, we got the Grappling with Wrestling podcast right here with Derek Nisho. Are you familiar with that? Oh, I just dropped that nugget right there on you, didn't I?
Is that no? What, you didn't invite me to be on it, Derek?
That's live. This is real time.
Not yet.
Yes, not yet. So,
this is live right now?
No, it's not live. I'm pretending to my audience. They know it's recorded. But no, that's the beauty of this is he's like, look, let them know we're going to be talking wrestling. So people out there that want to know more about wrestlers, they want to know more about wrestling and the different, whether it is a genre from back in the day or current stuff, they're going to be talking about it. Have you ever been on those kind of shows? I imagine thousands.
Oh my God, so many of them.
Yeah,
and it's funny. This one guy contacted me. He's from up Massachusetts somewhere. We'd like you to be on our show, whatever. I said, okay. And I told him my price. Okay. And he goes, oh, we're not in a position to pay. I said, well, I'm not in a position to do your show. It's like, why would I want to sit there and he's not going to give me no wings. He's way up yonder, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, but I mean, for real, people want me to be on the show. Reach out. I don't do no social media, like I was telling you privately earlier, but my dear friend Dan Matthews has a Facebook page called Downtown Bruno Bookings and Appearances. If you ever want me to be on a wrestling show as a special referee or do a signing or do a podcast, reach out to me through Downtown Bruno Bookings and Appearances on Facebook, and we'll work out our business. Because the thing is, I want everybody to understand, this is how I make my living.
Sure,
Why would I want to waste 2 hours or whatever in my day to give away something for free so somebody else could profit off of it? That ain't fair.
No, it's not.
You know, and the $7,000 that you're giving me, I appreciate.
Yeah, no problem. It's going to come out of Derek's budget, but yeah.
Well, Derek, I told him I'd give him a kickback.
Oh, thank you. All right, that's good. See, it's a full circle. Got to rob Peter to pay Paul.
So here's the thing. A lot of times, like my agent, like Derek's going to be my agent, we work on a percentage. So tonight, I'm working on for beer and chicken wings. So I'll give him a wing and a beer, and we'll call it even.
That's a good percentage, Derek. That's pretty good.
So let's say this before we call it quits.
Yeah.
Everybody always, I have to bring this up. Because every podcast I do, people say, oh, what's your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? There's too many guys that are too good to say, oh, this one. Yeah, because there's Jerry the King Lawler. There's Dusty Rhodes. There's The Undertaker. There's Stone Cold. There's The Rock. There's, Triple H. I mean, I can go on for whatever.
Sure.
All right. But I always do this. There's a lot of great managers over the years. A lot of shitty ones, too. A lot of great ones. I can do the Mount Rushmore managers, and I'm not putting myself in it. I'm not. I say Bobby the Brain Heenan, Jim Cornette, Jimmy Hart, and Paul Heyman. That's, to me, the best. And there's a lot of other great ones. Gary Hart was good. Percy Pringle was good. Who was Paul Bear was good. Mr. Fuji was good. Tojo was good. Whatever.
I was a Tojo fan back in the day.
Yeah, I knew him very well. I wrestled him many, many times.
Slap across the chest, man. That was good stuff.
But I'm not putting myself in that position.
Yeah, you're there. Well, yeah, you're up there. And look, here's the deal. Who's going to be the next great ones? That's the thing. It's always about showing and sharing your love for something, but in a way that you're going to mentor that next generation. And somebody right now out there that's listening to this may have been kicking the tires on the idea of maybe I'd like to get into wrestling. Maybe I'd like to be a manager. And they were just a little scared to get started. Maybe they didn't know where to go or how to do it. What could you tell that person right now?
Well, if anybody's listening to this that's in our area, in the Memphis spectrum, whatever, there's a great wrestling school in Dyersburg, Tennessee, which is, not even 2 hours from Memphis. Pro Wrestling Mid-South. You can look it up on Facebook. It's a great wrestling school. I participate in it quite a bit. I go up there and they have matches every Friday night in Ripley and every Saturday night in Dyersburg. And when Young Rock, which we didn't really go over Young Rock too much tonight, but when Young Rock was being filmed, they needed a lot of local wrestlers to get in there and play the different wrestlers. Yeah. A lot of those guys came from Pro Wrestling Mid-South because I brought Chavo Guerrero up there because me and him were the wrestling coordinators for that show. I was in charge of the Memphis wrestling part, and he was in charge of the physical part. But we booked a lot of those guys from Pro Wrestling Mid-South to play different characters as wrestlers. They need to have guys take bumps in the ring. You couldn't have actors can't do that. They don't know how,
Right.
So a lot of, it's funny. A lot of those guys that just wrestled in front of smallish audiences up there got to be on national
TV.
Yeah. So I recommend Pro Wrestling Mid-South.
Okay.
If anybody's interested in getting in the business.
Yeah.
Whether you want to be a referee, a manager, a wrestler, or whatever. I recommend it. Look it up on Facebook and tell them that Downtown Bruno sent you.
Yeah.
I highly recommend them.
Good deal. That's what I was curious of. I always think about the next generation coming up. That's why I got into coaching. I had passion for baseball. I had a passion for some other things that I teach and coach. And the best way to make sure your legacy lives on is to pass it to the next generation.
There you go.
And share those moments like you were talking about. Well, is there anything that you want to leave my audience with, moments of motivation as you head out to the road to continue doing this thing that you've been doing for so long?
Well, you know what? It's going to sound cliche. It's going to sound corny, but it'll come to you. Okay? life can throw curveballs at all of us, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. We all know that. There's going to be issues, whether it's with your health, a family member, your job, whatever. And like, once again, I know I don't want people to think I'm just saying this because it sounds cool. It'll come to you if you think about it. I really mean it when I say this. It's like Mama says. It bees that way sometimes.
That's right, baby. And look, I was hoping you'd say it because I got it in my notes. I was going to say it myself if you didn't, but you heard it best from him, and there ain't no way that I'm even going to try to mimic that. But you're absolutely right. Mama does say it bees that way sometimes. Well, Mr. Bruno, thank you so much, sir, for spending a few moments of your day down here. I hope the wings were okay.
Yeah.
Look, Domino's, that's what he was eating. So if you guys want to pick me up as a sponsor, I'm willing to do that. Thank you so much. Be safe out there, sir.
Thank you for having me. I loved it.
Absolutely. To my listeners, I want to tell you guys how much I appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week. Continue to share these episodes. I'm going to ask you now, go to my website, motivatewithcoachcamp.com. Subscribe to my YouTube. And until next time, Coach Camp out.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe